And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to New Earth TV Live once again. I know it's been a while since our last broadcast as I've been away. I was in California last week getting initiated as a Kriya Yogi. So that was a wonderful experience. If you guys haven't seen my interview with Forrest Knudsen on the YouTube channel, you should check it out. We had a great conversation there. I had a wonderful experience. Let's go ahead and adjust my fan a little bit. Boiling hot in here, so got a fan running. Anyways, glad you're all here with me. This is the new time for New Earth TV Live. I've been kind of bouncing it back and forth, but there's a reason why I brought the webcast back on Thursdays is because next week I'm going to be inviting you to check out a brand new service that's going to be available on New Earth Teachings. This is going to be referred to as the Yoga Nidra Hypnosis Sessions. And these are 2-hour-long sessions. So basically what this entails, I'm not going to spoil it for you because I'm going to have a whole promotional video surrounding it that's going to be on New Earth Teachings. This is all about you doing a virtual hypnosis session through the medium of Yoga Nidra with me. Now Yoga Nidra basically means psychic sleep or yogic sleep in that way. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to go into different options of what you'll want to explore while doing the Yoga Nidra hypnosis session. You can go ahead and you can explore other lifetimes where I'm guiding you through other lifetimes. You can go directly into your Akashic records. You can go directly into astro exploration. We can explore different worlds and dimensions together. We can also go into deep levels of healing as well too. This may also relate to the idea of instantaneous healing that can come through your hypnosis session. This is not QHHT, just letting you guys know that. This is Yoga Nidra hypnosis sessions. So I'm going to start revealing them 2 weeks from now. Next week is going to be my promotional video where I'm going to be talking about Yoga Nidra and basically having those once per week. And I'm basically going to have about 2 clients every Wednesday. But that'll be coming about 2 weeks from now. Okay. So this is going to be a very exciting announcement of me just starting to do Yoga Nidra. I have been doing Yoga Nidra for quite some time now, and I finally have discovered a way to basically make it virtual, to make it online, and basically talking to my clients through Zoom, and basically setting everything up so that we can have a very successful Yoga Nidra hypnosis session. Okay, so the Yoga Nidra hypnosis sessions are coming. Like I said, we dedicate a full 2 hours to the Yoga Nidra hypnosis session. If you guys have experienced QHHT, for example, like I said, this is very different. Okay, no offense to anybody who's doing QHHT. This is very much a different kind of animal. This is a different kind of platform, right? And we're basically getting a lot more options coming through. because it's not just the idea of looking into regressions, it's not just the idea of healing, which is great. QHHT is fantastic, and that way I've had QHHT sessions myself. This is something very, very different, and it's going to basically work on much more fundamental levels, really going up into not just the higher self, but actually bringing yourself all the way up into the source. And I know QHHT does that in its own way. This is not saying that it's better than that in any way. This is just something that's very, very different. And I've been studying quite a lot of different modalities, from hypnosis even to QHHT, and even different forms of neuro-linguistic programming as well as Yoga Nidra. And I've put together a really beautiful package. And this is going to greatly benefit the clients that I work together with. Kind of see it like I'm your co-pilot, right? And that's not just with Yoga Nidra, that's with everything. That's what we're going to be talking about today too, with the Adronis presentation as well too, is not just being here for you, but kind of being like a co-pilot. You're the pilot, right? You're sitting in the seat, you're plotting your course, you're kind of in the driver's seat, and I'm just the co-pilot sitting right next to you, helping you to make sure you get to where you want to go. And that's very much like what the Yoga Nidra hypnosis sessions are going to be about, is I'm going to be your co-pilot, right? And you're going to go exactly where you want to go. Brad, I want to connect to the higher self. Okay, great. Brad, I want to open up my psychic abilities a lot more. Okay, great, we'll do that. Brad, I want to look into more past lifetimes. Okay, great, we'll do that. Brad, I want to look more into my Akashic records. I want to look more into the Book of Life. Okay, great, we'll do that. Brad, I want to meet my star family. Okay, great, we'll do that. Brad, I want to work with instantaneous healing. I want to get my organs repaired. Okay, great, we'll do that. Right? So all of these things are going to be available through the Yoga Nidra hypnosis sessions, because it's you, like I said, sitting in your chair, being the pilot, and I'm just being the co-pilot. So again, it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to debuting this, but again, I'll have more information with you guys next week. I'm going to be debuting the promotional video for the Yoga Nidra hypnosis sessions. So looking forward to it. So this is not replacing my private sessions in any way. Tuesdays are going to be my private sessions. Wednesdays are going to be my Yoga Nidra hypnosis sessions. All right. So hope I got you guys excited about it, because I'm excited about it too. So you'll find out more about this next week. Anyways, welcome to New Earth TV Live. Welcome to the Adronis presentation today, where Adronis is going to be talking about return of the ancient knowledge. But before we go ahead and get started, we're going to go ahead and start off with some announcements.
Instead of forgetting to take 19,302
And of course, we have the brand new in-house shipping products that are available now on etherics.co. So these are things that do not require any production time, right? That was kind of the big setback that I had when I was doing print on demand with some of these companies, like with the bed kits, the mats, and all these different things. I'm now starting to move much more into in-house shipping. So the in-house shipping products you see here above are our Essence essential oils, and they come in 5 different aromas, and they are charged with source vibration. They have their own codes as well too. That helps to benefit your skin, that helps to work with your bodily systems, that helps to work with your organs as well too. They are all charged with the source vibration. The picture here in the middle is the Orgonite 3D array. So the Orgonite pyramid 3D array, where basically if you were to get a hold of the pyramid and look at the bottom of the pyramid, you would see an etheric sticker there. And that etheric sticker is containing all of the charge to bring about the source vibration through the metal resin, through the crystals that are contained inside the pyramid, to basically supercharge the pyramid, as well as give it all of the instructions to function both as a personal healing device for yourself, as it uses the torus bed codes, and also as an environmental healing product, as it utilizes the safeguard technology, which means that it's completely clearing away EMF, ELF, it's saturating it with source vibration. So any detrimental frequencies, vibrations, or any other forms of harsh content is basically being neutralized, sanitized, transmuted, and dampened with the pure source vibration. And again, like I said, you can use the Organite 3D array for your own self as it emits the torus codes, just like you're laying in the torus bed as well too. And of course, the item on the right is the selenite amplifier plate. Now this is wonderful if you want to charge your water. This is wonderful if you want to charge food. This is also wonderful for personal healing as well too. The amplifier also does environmental healing. It also works with your body as well too. So again, all three of these products are now available on etherics.co, so you can check that out now. And like I said, there's no production time with these. We basically can just order them straight. The only thing you're waiting for is shipping. So again, it's coming very quickly. It's like the healing code cards, the etherics card decks, coming to you very quickly through shipping. No more production time wait. And there's a lot more products coming. A lot more products coming that are going to be in-house shipping, where again, there is no more wait for production time. All of that is coming to an end. As I'm transitioning now out of print on demand, that's going to basically be the transition that'll last probably the entire summer, and coming more into in-house shipping, where I'm basically turning my own home here into a partial warehouse, and basically starting to ship all of these products directly to you. So it's very exciting. Please check it out, etherics.co. You're going to love these new products that are coming. They are so incredibly powerful. They are so incredibly beneficial. Another product that I don't have listed here is what's known as the digital safeguard image package. And that is a digital download. That's a digital product. You can take those particular safeguard images that you print out yourself, and you're able to place them all around your home. You're able to place them around electrical sockets, and that is going to supercharge the electrical sockets. You're actually going to start emitting source vibration as soon as you turn on the lights. You can put them around electrical plugs, and as you plug anything into the electrical outlet, that electrical outlet and its power that goes through the device is now going to start emitting source vibration. Okay, those are called the digital safeguard image package. Okay, and that is a digital download. You can also find that on etherics.co. All right, so let's move on. This Sunday we have transmissions from Adronis coming back again. So I know it's been a while since I've done one of these. I love doing these. So this is going to be this Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, open Q&A with Adronis on Zoom. You can even ask personal questions to Adronis as well too if you wish. You will find the link to Zoom registration in the video description. So just go to the video description. You'll see the Zoom link there. Go ahead and register. It's a free event, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you on Sunday. We're going to have a great time talking with Adronis one-to-one through Q&A. It's going to be great. And of course, private sessions are available right now. One-to-one private sessions, 3-question private email sessions are available. Like I said, when it comes to Yoga Nidra, it will not be this Wednesday, but the Wednesday after next, where I will start introducing the Yoga Nidra hypnosis sessions. Okay, but one-to-one private sessions and 3-question private email sessions are still available as well, so you can check that out on newearthteachings.com. So stay tuned for next week. Next week, I will be introducing Yoga Nidra hypnosis sessions and how this will greatly benefit you. Spending 2 hours with my client, right? Because basically we have a bit of an orientation. Then we go into the Yoga Nidra, especially of how it's done. It's just, I've done a lot of study, and it's going to be a really beautiful session. I've already tried this on a couple of people already, so I'm looking forward to sharing this with you, and they've had profound experiences. So I'm really looking forward to sharing the promo video with you next week, and then the week after getting into Yoga Nidra itself with bookings. And of course, everything on my YouTube channel here on New Earth Teachings is backed up onto Odyssey, odyssey.com/@newearthteachings. You can feel free to follow along there, as that is our backup channel. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We had kind of a long introduction this morning. What can I say? I had a lot of updates to give you guys. So anyways, hope you guys can hear me okay. Everything looks good on my end, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Make sure you guys have your volume's up. Make sure you have your speakers on. Make sure hopefully you can hear me okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring Adronis in here momentarily. And Adronis is going to be talking about return of the ancient knowledge. This is going to be a really fascinating discussion. I was getting some flow, getting an impression of what it's going to be about. It's going to be just mesmerizing. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be amazing. Adronis is always so good at delivering profound, powerful information that just keeps you interested. You want to keep hearing more. Right? Certainly does that with me. All right, guys. So again, thank you for being here. Hope you enjoy the presentation today with Adronis, Return of the Ancient Knowledge. Afterwards, we'll be doing Q&A. Okay, so Q&A will follow right after our presentation. So you can either ask myself or Adronis questions. You can put that in the chat, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. All right, so I'll go ahead and bring Adronis now as I get into the state, and we'll begin. Terra Soul Star Sirius Adronis We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. What we would like all of you to do at this time is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius, so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all of the information that we will provide together today with you is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. The return of ancient knowledge. Well, here's the simple truth. It never really left. The idea of the ancient knowledge really is all about the sharing of the remembrance of who and what you are. That's all it really comes down to. It is to help you understand the nature of your primordial self. Now, when you look at many of the ancient cultures, when you look at ancient Peru, the ancient Inca, when you look at ancient Egypt, when you look at Mesopotamia, when you look at Sumeria, when you look at all of these different ancient civilizations, going back many thousands of years, because believe us when we say that the information that comes from many of these cultures are far older than what your scientists and archaeologists and historians actually admit. If you're looking back in regards to the ancient Egyptian knowledge, you're looking at something that goes way back over 20,000 years. It's not something of the idea of 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. No. That is very much cutting it short. It is far older. It is far more ancient in regards to the nature of that knowledge. Because much of this knowledge that helped you to move yourselves into your primordial selves came from a golden age upon the earth. And that is very much how this ancient knowledge came into being. We're not talking about 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. We're talking well over 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 plus years ago. And this really came from the golden age of your earth, of another time, of another era. And that was still something that needed to be implanted as a seed for your collective consciousness to look back at and say, wow, we have all of this historical information. We have all of these historical relics. We have all of this historical paintings on walls. We have hieroglyphs. We have ancient stone carvings. This is wonderful. Wow, these belong in museums. They were never meant from the idea of those who created these to wind up in your museums. They were never meant through the ones that created these to end up in your vaults and storerooms. This was created for all of humanity to witness. Now, every particular civilization had its own degree of how it wished to preserve its ancient knowledge. Some of it would come through oral traditions. It would come through oral history. Some would even utilize crystal skulls to basically imbue their own consciousness into the crystal skull, and by working together with certain initiates that would enter trance states, they would be able to communicate with the crystal skull, and therefore through the consciousness of their ancestor or ancestors, they would be educated in the great knowledge. And they would therefore orally pass that on in regards to what they received via transmission. There are others, like the Egyptians, that worked together with hieroglyphs, that worked together with certain degrees of analogy, that worked together with certain degrees of metaphor, that worked with the sacred passing of the torch of wisdom upon the ages to come. Everybody had their own idea. Anyone had their own particular seed that they planted, so that it would therefore preserve itself throughout the ages, so that humanity of the present day would be aware of this. Unfortunately, through much of this knowledge that has been given openly, through the intention of doing so, that this was specifically for humanity, it fell very much into the wrong type of hands. Many of the ancient knowledge in that sense was either destroyed or lost to time by basically, in that sense, through the idea of apprehending much of these particular forms of knowledge, realizing what these forms of knowledge were sharing, and basically destroying them. Or again, as you would say, having certain forms of tablets destroyed, having certain forms of, again, ancient history, ancient knowledge upon medium platforms that would therefore be destroyed. Books would be burned. This was quite well known. That everything that represented the idea of passing the ancient golden age knowledge onto you was either being apprehended, stored in a warehouse, stored in a vault, or destroyed, dismantled altogether. And again, those that remain would basically be under certain forms of governmental scrutiny. They would be kept in museums. They would be kept in that sense for only certain people to look at. And even if the public did look at it, they would distort the information to the degree where the information, the knowledge, the message that is being brought forward from the ancestors of the golden age would be lost. They would basically veil you with fog of confusion, saying, oh, this is what the Egyptians are basically talking about, and they would greatly distort their message. They would greatly distort the message of the ancients, basically telling you that a lot of what they are sharing is really just superstition, that it really is just metaphor. It's really no more different than just looking at a dream, that you can't really figure it out, so don't worry about it. And they would therefore distort the nature of the technologies that they left behind, like the pyramids. Oh, well, this was all brought together with vine ropes. This was all brought together by rolling granite pillars on logs, so on and so forth. And they would continue to distort the profound knowledge, the profound demonstration of what can be achieved through the power of your own intentions, like what the pyramids themselves represent. That it represents so many different things. It is not the idea of one certain thing. It certainly did represent an initiation chamber. It also represents a clock. If you're looking at the nature of the Giza Plateau, you're actually seeing a clock. It's what it represents, because it basically outlines your entire timeline from now up into the years ahead, leading up into approximately 2038, where the Egyptian timeline ends. So there are many different facets, there are many different arrangements in regards to many of these sacred sites that have been placed upon your planet. Many of them, in that sense, now have been dismantled or destroyed, or basically in a point of distortion where they can no longer function anymore. So many of them have reached the level of deactivation, only to then, at some particular point, be reactivated once the golden age knowledge returns back to you. And here is what we have to say about that. The ancient knowledge is returning. As we said, it's never really gone away. It's just been under the fog. But as the fog starts to dissipate more and more, as you notice that the fog starts to thin away, then therefore you will discover that there will be certain beings upon your planet that will come forward that have been given the ancient knowledge to share. Because many of you who have existed in those ancient times during those particular states of golden ages are coming back, because you've had more than one golden age upon the earth. You've had several. But the whole idea is that those particular masters come back, and they will come together in your modern form. You will not see them coming from the sky. You will not see them coming from under the earth. You will not just see them coming through some pocket dimension, all of a sudden to magically appear before you. You will see them as your common people. And you will see that they hold the ancient knowledge, because this is all part of an intricacy. It's like a sacred dance that is dancing out this beautiful spiral of knowledge that will be inevitable to embrace. It will reach an embracing of your entire civilization, because it will become so strong. Now, where you look for it may be the challenge here, because many of you may try to look at it through the top of your media, that it must come through a world leader, that it must come through a politician, that it must come through someone of high authority. Not really. It's really going to come from the ground up. It's going to come from the bottom, and it's going to move itself upwards. Many of you are still in that feeling that as I look at the top is going to bring peace to the downwards. No. The downwards, the bottom, is going to bring peace to the top. That's how it works. It is not of the idea of thinking that you need to look at major authority, that you need to look at mainstream answers, and believing that this is what's going to bring about the ancient wisdom, the ancient knowledge that is going to transform society. No, it is going to come through the grassroots. It is going to start from the underground. It is going to move up to the grassroots, and those grassroots are now going to ascend into beautiful growth, where all you see are these beautiful blades of long grass. And now you see the fruits of these beautiful plants that are now sprouting and blossoming, and sharing the fragrance of the divine ancient knowledge that your own ancestors have been giving you, that they have left this for the future generations. Why did they leave this for the future generations? Because they saw the darkness coming. They realized that their golden age was not going to stay. It was not going to remain. It was only there for a certain amount of time, so that all of this grand knowledge could be shared with their future descendants that would help them through these dark ages to come. These dark ages to come would come to the idea of brother against brother, sister against sister, human being against human being, human against nature, human against earth, separation consciousness, segregation, fighting, war, poverty, hunger, theft, stealing, disease, impoverishment. The list truly goes on and on. They saw all these things. They realized that this was coming. And this was very much a collective effort to working together with much of the masters of the world at that time. Because you will notice that through many of the civilizations that coexisted at that time, many of them shared very similar knowledge, unique in their own way. But really the divine knowledge is helping you to return back into your God nature. As we have always said, you are gods in training. This is how we have always seen you. Truly, we see you already as gods. But through the transition that you're going through right now, we see you as these gods in training. That's the nature of yourself right now. So as you are in training, you are remembering much about who and what you are. You are realizing that everything that represents these dark clouds, this dense fog that has been around your planet for many thousands of years, is now starting to dissipate. Because now everything is starting to shake up. Change is abound. And therefore what has been concealed in the darkness with lies, deceit, and corruption are now going to be exposed, and have been getting exposed for quite some time. This is not, as you would say, a rainbow moment. This is going to be the idea where people are going to be angry. People are going to be furious. People are going to be outraged. That's all part of the plan. To moving yourself into that state of outrage, to move into that particular state of anger, because that is what's going to break chains. That's what's going to shatter some glass ceilings, so that you can now start to expand yourself further and realize that the world that I have been volunteering to live in is nothing but being corrupt to the bone. In fact, there's nothing relating to any modern artificial forms of platforms that your own people have created that will stand the test of time. It will all rot away, because it is all based on deceit. It is all based on ego. It is all based on corruption. It is all based on lies. Such forms of platforms cannot remain. The wood will rot underneath and it will collapse to the ground. It will not stand the test of time. And this is not the only dark age that you have gone through on this planet. You have gone through numerous other dark ages. Not a single one of them remained. And they're not even really talked about, actually. When you look at a lot of these dark ages, they really pummeled to the ground very quickly. They rotted quite quickly. And they are not even really remembered by the course of history, because they're buried under the sands, because their foundation wasn't strong enough to actually have any remembrance of their empires. Their empires crumble, and it is basically forgotten. What you're actually remembering is what still stands, what still remains. And you have all of these ancient cities, and you have all of these ancient sites, and you have all of this ancient knowledge that is preserved with them. And that is what remains. What happened to these ancient masters that once existed throughout your golden age? They were able to leave the physical plane. They were able to reach, as you term quite commonly, ascension. And they would go up into the higher realms. They would move up into the higher planes, functioning on a very different level from what they were once, in that sense, a part of here on the earth plane. They moved into higher planes of wisdom. And you would understand many of these to be, as you would say, ascended masters, or even angels in that particular way. And that they have volunteered themselves to continue to watch over the earth up into a certain time. And through that certain time, many of them would decide to incarnate here again. We can guarantee you that many of those ancient masters in the golden era are here right now. And we can also guarantee you that quite a few of them are currently in the bodies of children right now. And we could also tell you that it is not just the idea of a single physical incarnation that they are inhabiting, but multiple incarnations simultaneously as human beings right here, right now. Which means they are occupying a multitude of different bodies. Yes, you have the capability of doing that. It requires a certain level of advancement within yourself, but you are able to occupy a multitude of different bodies simultaneously. Now, as we've always said, you are every single body that exists. But what we are meaning here is that through their incarnations, they are able to work together with the facets of themselves in a multitude of physical bodies here on this planet right now. So it is not the idea of looking at one. It is not the idea of looking at a single human form that represents this master. No, it is the idea of a multitude of different human forms that represents the essence of this master. And as we said, quite a few of them are children right now. And when they grow up and as they get older, they are definitely going to make an impact. They are definitely going to speak their minds. They are definitely going to have the blueprint necessary to get the people behind them to ensure a surging of upliftment covers and coats the entire planet. Now, there are masters in that sense who are deciding to simply live in a human body, a single human body in that way, because that is the nature of their own orientation of purpose. They decide to come here. They operate in a certain form. They are working together with the work that needs to be done because they are too just leaving their stones along the divine path. So that as you walk down this path, that path is being charged by the divine stones that they leave in the wake. This is very much why they have come here. Many of you have left your own stones along the path. And you decide to depart from this world. What you decide to do then is up to you. But you're all leaving your contribution to the earth path by leaving your stone along the path. Some of you may have big, beautiful stones that radiate so much love. Some of you may have stones of confusion, but that still helps the traveler. Some of you may put hurdles in the middle of the path, but that still helps the traveler. Because they are being informed about what the path itself holds. Whether it is your charging stone, whether it is a transmission stone of wisdom, whether it is a healing stone, helping you to orient yourself and align yourself into all facets of your being, or whether it is stones of confusion, whether it is hurdles in the middle of the path, every stone helps. And as you walk down this divine path, you will discover all of these fluctuations of different orientations pertaining to the stones that have been left behind by your fellow brethren, to helping you navigate the path simpler. And this has been the nature of the path since the beginning of humanity coming upon this world. The path has always been drawn out, but the expression of how the path itself can be navigated is through the assistance of those that leave their stones along the path. And that is the nature of the ancient knowledge. It's functioning as guide stones to helping you navigate the path that will have ups and downs, that will have twists and turns, where you will enter through the narrow gate into life. And this has been very much the entire journey of humanity on this planet, to navigate the path, to enter through the narrow gate towards life. The ancient knowledge is your guide stone. It's helping you to remember the path. It's helping you to remember why you're going through what you're going through. It's helping you to remember how you can liberate yourself from the chaos. It's telling you how love, compassion, divinity, tranquility is the nature of your being. That you are the very happiness that you seek. You are the very joy that you want to ponder. Everything that represents the divine within you is here. It is never defined by something that is essentially needing to be discovered outwards. Therefore, the nature of the ancient knowledge has been of a guide stone, to helping you, inform you about the path that lay ahead, what to look out for, what not to waste your time with, how you can orient yourself in much more deeper, grander ways of helping yourself to move further up the path. So that you realize that when you come into that point of the path that brings you into such a liberation of the self, the idea of the path now starts to fade away, and you actually realize, I was walking a path to realize there is no path. All there is the center. All there is this point. And I'm the point. I am the here. I am the now. I have been walking a path because I needed to realize I walked the path to know that there is no path. There is simply the I am. And this is what your great ancestors have wanted you to understand. Behold God as you see yourself. Behold God as you commit to your actions. Behold God as you place your feet on the grounds of this sacred world. Behold God as you assist others who are struggling. Behold God to know that everything that you are is the truth. Everything that represents yourself is the truth. Behold God when you know God is you. We thank you for this interaction of the return of the ancient knowledge. We will now pause for this timing to enable a question and answer period to commence. We thank you very much. Okay, very good. All right, everybody. So let's go ahead and start off with some questions. So if you guys do have any questions in the chat, you can feel free to place it there. If you want to have a priority question, you can leave a donation in the YouTube super chat. Just when you leave your donation, make sure you type in your question as well too. And then you'll be first priority in line. Okay, so let's go up, and I'm just going to kind of scroll down the chat as I go. So hello everybody, welcome, good to see you all here. So we have a first question here from The Gods Live More. Question, when the new earth, will it be more of a physical new earth, or will it be more of the way people see the world in our reality, in our own minds, or where they really be a physical change? Okay, so why don't I bring Adronis in for that, and he can talk a little bit more about the new earth, if it is physicalized, if it will be more of what we see in the world, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go ahead, see what Adronis has to share about that. We thank you very much for your question. What is the new earth? Well, you see, the new earth, really from how you will understand it, will be different through the nature of perspective. That's really the idea. Will it be some type of physicalized earth? Yes. Is it something that you'll be able to identify? Yes. Is it something that you'll be able to work with through your physical senses? What you will be able to see, smell, taste, touch, and hear? Yes. Will you still have feelings? Will you still have emotions? Will that work together with the earth plane? Yes. Everything you know of the new earth to be, in reference to what you understand the earth is now, will still be apparent. Now, what really makes the new earth is a change of perspective. Now, what happens is, many of you don't even realize that you're going through a new earth transition right now. And the reason why you don't realize that is because you're still stranded in the past pertaining to your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your mentalities, your tendencies. That is exactly why you do not realize that there is actually a new earth unfolding before your eyes right here, right now. Because you're living in the past. You're still hurt by someone. You're still hurt by something. You're still in agony regarding events taking place upon the planet. You're still hurting. You're still feeling fragile. And the idea of holding on to these memories of the past is obscuring your own realization to know that you are already entering into a new earth that is taking place right now transitionally. It's already happening right here, right now, before your eyes. But again, if you are not present, and if you are not aware with the earth, if you are not aware with your mother, you're not going to see it. You are too transfixed on everything that burdens you. Everything that represents ailment, everything that represents injury, everything that represents wound, everything that represents hurtfulness. That's where you're putting your attention. It's like the idea of a person that's just staring at an empty box. And they look at that box and they see how old it's getting, how deteriorating it's getting, how you can't really put anything in that old box anymore because it's falling apart. Whereas what they fail to realize is that everything around them is changing. But they don't care. They're focused on this rotting cardboard box, too transfixed on the idea of how it makes them feel. How they feel disappointed because they can't put anything in this box. It's falling apart. How holes are now starting to appear in this box. It's falling apart. I can't do anything in this box. Why is this box here? Why am I looking at a box? Why do I have to face this box? Why does this box have to come into my life? So on and so on and so forth. And you're missing everything else around you that's changing profoundly. Because you are too transfixed on a cardboard box. And that represents the nature of the pain that you agree to face through life. You are looking in the confines of a box, of a set of walls that are rotting around you, because this is all what you're choosing to face, to experience, to look at, is seeing how this box is starting to rot around you. And you only choose to face your pain and to continue to support that pain by grumbling about it. So you're confined in between those walls of the box. And you don't bother to step beyond it, to see what is around you right now that is changing. Because we can tell you that the entire planet is changing. She is physically changing. She is physically shifting. It is like a snake that is shedding its own skin. The earth is doing that right now. She's shedding the proverbial energetic skin. Many of you don't see it because you're too transfixed on the box. You're not letting yourself expand. You're not letting yourself realize, oh my goodness, there is something new here. Look at how the new children are on this planet. Look how loving, look how caring so many of them are. Look at the people that walk around the streets, and I'm walking down the streets, and how many people are greeting each other and saying hello. It is really a world that is changing. Look at the new infrastructures that are now looking to be developed. Look at how nature herself is adapting to all of the changes taking place so that she will make her presence farther well known, and knowing that she is here to be your nurturer. There's everything that's changing right now. We really don't have time to give you all of the profound changes that are taking place. But as we stated, your earth is physically changing. Your earth is changing to the degree where she is taking a new form. She will still be the earth of what you know the earth to be, but these changes are so seamless. But they are also gradual, and they are transitional. So when you talk about the nature of a new earth, yes, you're looking at a brand new earth that's right in front of your eyes right now. Right now. New earth. And she's, again, peeling off that old skin. The old skin is being shed away so that the new skin can be revealed. And this is what you're looking at pertaining to everything that you know is corrupt, that is dark, that is horrifying, that is full of lies, deceit. Everything that represents the unnaturalness of humanity is that old skin that is now being peeled off the earth. The darkness, as it were, in this particular analogy, is therefore starting to fade away, and the light is dawning. the sun is rising. And for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, will see and hear and know of these changes that are before you right now, because it's right here, it's right now, it's before you. You do not have to wait, oh, when is this new earth coming? I'm still checking my watch. Adronis, I don't see any new earth. We're telling you it's right in front of your face. It's all around you that it's changing. It's not about saying that the earth is all of a sudden going to have a purple with polka dot sky, and that the lands are now going to turn white and silver and gray and blue and black all together. No. It's the idea that you are still looking at the earth, but she is changing. But even though she is changing, everything that you know of the earth remains the same. And that's the nature of the plateau. The plateau will have all forms of significant transformations, changes taking place, but the plateau will still remain the plateau. The earth will still remain as the earth, but the changes that she's going through are fresh and are abundant all around you. So Adronis, how can I see these changes? Let go of that which burdens you. As we've talked about, come into your center, surrender, be still, be silent, and listen to the earth. Plant your bare feet upon her ground. Find a tree that you feel a very deep connection with and lean back against that tree and listen. And when you learn to listen, you will know that the earth has been changing all around you, and you could not see it, you could not hear it, you could not taste it, you could not touch it, you could not smell it. Because all of your senses were distracted on you living in the past, not present. You are never going to know change if you are stuck in the past through your memory, through time, through thought, because they're all one and the same. That's why you can't see it. You have to get out of the feeling that you're still living in the past. Whether you think it's your younger self that has been hurt, has been violated, has been harmed in any particular way. As long as you continue to feed that, that is the instance, that's the cardboard box that you're looking at that is deteriorating away. Can I learn to give this compassion? Can I learn to forgive this? Can I surrender to it? Can I bow to my soul so that I can absorb everything that I have gone through and bringing it into the divine tranquility of who and what I truly am? When you do that, you will truly see through everything that you are, the earth has indeed been changing. And she is already a new earth. She is already shedding this old skin. And she is already moving into a brand new alignment that encourages the growth of humanity to prosper in a whole new way. One who is present will know this. All right? We thank you for your question. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Maura, for your question. Let's go down the list here a bit more. This one here is from Little Possibility. Why awareness doesn't have identity but uses identity as itself like an ocean in a form of a drop? Can't even put a finger on that awareness and that everything is consciousness. Why our sense of self, I am awareness, is so isolated as a human that is only limited to our point of view. We thank you very much for your question. Awareness does not have identity. That's the whole idea. If you think awareness has identity, you are not being aware. The only thing that gives the identity is yourself, is your own complacency relating upon the reliance of the mind. You focus on a drop when all there really is the ocean. We look at the nature of how clay itself forms a clay pot. and that the clay knows itself, but the clay pot can never know the clay, because form can never know the infinite. The mind is all about finiteness. You can never know God by looking at partitions of the mind. The mind is not designed to know God. But God can utilize the mind to shape anything in which God desires. Because in this analogy, God is the clay. And the clay pot can never know God because it is a finite thing. But God knows all. So when you look at the nature of awareness, you being able to associate it with identity is not to describe awareness at all. Awareness does not have a finite form. Awareness cannot be identified. You are looking at two entirely different things here. And the nature of the mind can only express itself through finiteness, through object, through color, through form, through shape, through vibration, through energy, through frequency. These are all grand scales, but they all represent finite results. Awareness simply is. You cannot associate it with a drop in the water. That is not an appropriate analogy, because awareness is not a drop in the water. And awareness isn't even the ocean. The ocean is just giving you the idea of an infinite analogy. But awareness simply is. Awareness is only aware of awareness. It is not aware of anything that exists within the mind. Period. But it gives birth to everything that resides within the mind. It gives birth to the mind itself. And it does not know that it even does this, which makes it perfect. It is not aware of any image, of any object, of any color, of any form, of any sound, of anything that you would understand mind to be that you can relate to, pertaining to object. It does not have any of that awareness of the mind. Awareness is simply aware of awareness and nothing else. That is the true being. That is to know the infinite. To know the infinite is to simply be awareness. To know the infinite is to simply be consciousness. None of that involves visions. None of that involves objects. None of that involves the mind at all. When you are identifying, you are charging the fuel of the mind. You are looking at yourself in impermanence. And this is, again, what is termed as the ahamkara, the I-ness, the feeling that your own intelligence, your own intellect rather, is working together with the mind to define how things are, which means you've become an addict. You become an addict to feel that the mind needs to identify everything, otherwise it does not exist. Now, in a way, that's true. Here's the thing, everyone. Awareness doesn't exist. Consciousness doesn't exist. Do you know what we mean by that? Because it does not rely on form to make it valid. A form is something that is brought into being. Do you all agree with that? A form is something that is brought into being. Yes? Well, therefore, the infinite was never brought into being. It simply is. So how can you have the idea of that which is infinite be brought into being? You can't. It's not possible. The infinite always has been, always will be, always has been, always is. It does not require a form of the mind to validate itself, because existence is not the be-all, end-all. All existence means is to bring something into being, that it has a start, that it has a middle, and that it has an end. That is existence. Existence is not the infinite. Existence is a finite concept. The infiniteness of yourself can never ever be understood through the properties of the mind, because the mind is a property of consciousness. It can't exist without consciousness. It can't exist without awareness. Without that, there is no mind. Without that, there is nothing but absence. The mind can therefore be defined as God's dream. That God is dreaming a dream, and all that represents what happens in the mind are the facets of God's dream. That's all it is. It's a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream that just keeps going, like a hologram. That's all it is. It's just God dreaming. But none of this dream represents God at all. It's nothing but a dreaming of expression, of God, getting to know God through the medium of the mind, through the finiteness that resides here, to where the nature of God as the infinite, now moving together with the gateway of the finite, bridges itself together. And through that bridging all together is that you yourself are understanding that you are bringing the infinite into the finite, so that the finite can therefore transform itself back into the infinite. It's being absorbed back into the infinite. That's how it will be. It will absorb itself, and then it will expel itself again, and it will absorb itself again, and it will expel itself again, and then it will absorb itself again, and then it will expel itself again, and then it will absorb itself again, and it will expel itself again. Becoming the idea of how you move up and how you move back down, and how you go up higher, and how you go even lower next time, and you go even higher next time, and you go even lower next time. That is the idea of absorption and expansion. Absorbing and expanding. That's what you're doing when you're playing with the mind. Because you are the infinite intelligence. You are consciousness. There's nothing else that you can be, because there's nothing else that is. The only thing that is consciousness. Do you see what we're saying here? If you try to know God through the mind, you'll never get there. Never. It is to know God by going to where God is, and that is the infinite. It is to know consciousness to where consciousness is, the infinite. It is to know awareness to where the infinite awareness is, and that's the infiniteness that is awareness. We want you to look into this a little bit more. We understand many of you want to put a pin on things, that you want to put an object on things, that you want to put a form on things, to thinking that that is absolute, and it's not. You're taking all of these impermanent things and trying to think that's the grand answer, while the nature of the intelligence smashes it all down and saying, nope, try again. The mind will never know God, because it is impossible. To know God is to know the infinite awareness, consciousness, nature of yourself. That is the only way. All right? We thank you for your question. Okay. It's a very good question, low possibility. Thank you very much for sharing. Okay, let's go down the list here a bit more. Okay, so Aquasendra here says, question for Adronis. On the 18th of June, the Schumann resonance made a harmonic pattern never seen before. Could you explain why and what happened to the Earth this day? Thank you. We thank you very much for your question. Well, to try to articulate this pattern and try to articulate what happened really is not appropriate in your language. So we really can't. Not really. Not a very good way. So all we can really do is give you a states of analogy to helping you understand what's taking place. Do you remember what we said earlier about the nature of the snake shedding its skin? Well, basically it is a harmonic for a certain extra area of that layer to be shed, to be purged, to be released. It is, in that sense, a loosening that has taken place. It is a loosening that transmits itself. Yes, the earth is going through intense resonances right now because, as we stated, she's changing before your eyes right now. And when you notice these particular harmonics, there is a sector, there is a zone, there is a fabric of itself that has now become loosened to a greater deal. And that is that loosening that's taking place, that's enabling a greater layer of the shedding of the old skin that's now being loosened even further. So it's a large peel away. It's a large loosening. It's the idea where there's more free room to squiggle out of the old skin. You see? That would be the analogy that we could give you. The harmonics that you face pertaining to the nature of the earth reaches the degree to where the advancement of her being is being shared in a particular type of analogy through the shedding of his skin, so that more and more of what you see as the earth and pertaining to what she's going through is going to reflect itself through the common happenings in regards to your human world. You will see great changes taking place upon your planet. You will see the idea of exposures taking place. You will see governmental changes. You will see political changes. You will see financial changes. You will see sociological changes. You will see a lot more things coming out that have been hidden in the darkness. And that's the loosening effect in regards to what's being translated in the human world, in regards to what's being translated through the human plane. But the idea in that sense of this harmonic that comes together through her own heartbeat, the Schumann resonance, is the idea of a growth that has now been granted through the loosening of the skin that is now being shed. So all we can really tell you is the nature through this analogy to get an idea about what's happening. Because to tell you through your language technically what's happening, you don't have the words for it. The words simply don't exist. So this is why we often have to utilize analogy to give you an understanding about what's taking place. This beautiful snake is shedding the skin even more and going into deeper layers of shedding so that this skin can be completely off the body altogether. And the harmonic represents that greater loosening. All right? We thank you for your question. Okay, great. Thank you, Akrasendra, for your question. Okay. So just give me one here. You guys got a lot of good questions here. So we got a donation here. That donation did not show itself to me. This is from Babito7. Let me just check here, Babito, make sure there's no other donations that I'm seeing here. Okay. So Babito here has the question. I'm just seeing it now as I scroll down. It didn't pop up onto my window, which is kind of strange. Babito7 says, how do you achieve self-realization? Okay, so let's bring Adronis in for that. We thank you, Babito7, for your question. In order for us to give you some insight pertaining to the question, let us ask a question to you. Are you aware that you are in a physical body? Yes or no? We're going to assume you said yes. Are you aware that you have thoughts? Yes or no? Are you aware that you have emotions? Yes or no? Are you aware that you have feelings? Yes or no? Are you aware that you are on a world? Yes or no? Are you aware that there is far more beyond this world? Yes or no? Are you aware that there are other planets that surround this world? Yes or no? Are you aware that everything that represents these planets are part of a star system? Yes or no? Are you aware that this star system and the star itself is all part of a gigantic galaxy? Yes or no? Are you aware that this galaxy intersects and moves together with other galaxies in a divine pattern? Yes or no? Are you aware that everything that makes up these galaxies are all contained together through the nature of a universal platform? Yes or no? What we have just given you is an example and a demonstration of how you are going into your awareness to realize these things. So, what does it mean to realize the self? When we say the self, what does that mean? What is the self? Some of you may say, well, it is the true being of me. It's who I am. It's what I am. All right? So if you were able to identify everything that we have shared relating to your body, relating to how you have thoughts, relating to how you have emotions, feelings, that you're on a planet, that you're in a star system, that you're in a galaxy, that you're surrounded by other galaxies, and that this all is contained together through a universal platform. Your own awareness granted the realization to know that this was so. So, when you look at the nature of the self and you realize that that is the true nature of your being and everything that constitutes the relationship of the self is aware, you've reached realization. You see? You see how that doesn't really take an effort? There is no effort to self-realization. Just as there was no effort in us being able to ask you those questions, and you obviously knew, of course, that's how it is. So it is for you to be able to realize that the self is all that is. And that the self is not about what you see, smell, taste, touch, and hear. The self is what you are. It is the infinite. So, it is for you to realize that you are the infinite, and for you to realize that you are the infinite is for you to have self-realization. That's all it takes. Now, what needs to be done to realize that? Well, you realize, as we stated, that you have a body, but you're not the body. You realize that you have a mind, but you realize also that you are not the mind. Now that's a big one for many of you to swallow because you're still very attached to the mind. And that is basically what you have to learn to surrender to surrender to surrender to. More and more. Am I constantly identifying myself as a body and mind? Yes, because I'm looking at identity for answers, and identity cannot give answers because identity is a byproduct of the mind. You cannot identify with the infinite. You are the infinite. So, when you are able to know that you are the infinite, you have reached self-realization. It does not come through a vision. It does not come through a form. It does not come through a color. It does not come through a scent. It does not come through a sound. It does not come through a taste or a touch or a texture. It is beyond all of that. It simply is. Now, when we basically talk to one who is so ingrained into the mind, when we say it simply is, they just start doing this. So Adronis, what do you mean exactly? It simply is. Well, what does that mean? We can't define it for you because it's not of the mind. You simply know yourself to be infinite. And that's all we can tell you about it. Do you think if it was that easy that all of you would be struggling? Do you think if it was that easy to term through the mind what the infinite is, that you would be in the situations that you were, that it would be so simple just to give you a statement and then you know exactly what the infinite is? It doesn't work that way. You have to transcend the mind. And again, as we stated, it is very, very simple. It's simpler than breathing for you to know that you are the infinite. But we cannot tell you what the infinite is because it doesn't reside within the mind. The nature of self-realization is to know that you are the infinite. That's the closest thing we can give you. Really, when we look at this, we can only tell you what the infinite is not, rather than telling you what the infinite is. It is for you. It's your job. It is your responsibility to know what the infinite is. Nobody can tell you. Nobody can show it to you. Nobody can describe it to you. Nobody can present it to you on a platter. You have to know it. You either know it or you don't. And if you do not know it, you will need to keep surrendering. You will need to keep letting go. You will need to keep releasing until you no longer identify as a body and a mind. And when you realize that, all that remains is the infinite. Because the infinite is unidentifiable. It cannot be defined. It cannot be identified. It cannot be pointed at to. And so there it is. It was your own Jesus who told you this. Watch as you may, it will not come. Not lo here, not lo there. For the kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. It has no form. It is you, though. You see? We can only ever tell you what the infinite is not, rather than trying to tell you what it is, because that is impossible. Nobody can ever do that. You have to know the infinite through yourself. This is not something that anybody can give you. This is not something that anybody can do for you. This is not anything that anybody, through their own means as a medium, can present to you. Here you go, here's your infinite. Well, then it would not be infinite, would it? You're handing something finite. To know the infinite is to know self-realization. All right? We thank you. Okay. Great question, Babito7. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, here's one from Jenny, right underneath Babito. Jenny asks, "Hi, Brad. Please could you ask Adronis to speak on the concept of spiritual impurity? Thank you." Okay, one moment. We thank you very much, Jenny, for your question. So, we look at the term spiritual impurity. No such thing. There's your answer. You cannot have impurity of that which is not polarized. You cannot have the idea of impurity with that which does not have a scale, because that would be indicating that is a finite boundary. You can never measure consciousness. You can never measure intelligence. You can never measure awareness, because that would be indicating that it's finite. So when you look at the word spiritual, well, let's take out the ool, because what you're actually looking at when you're saying spiritual is you're actually looking at spirit dual. You are trying to dualize spirit, and it can't be done. This is why when you really look at the nature of what is spiritual, is really that. It's trying to bring the spirit in and finite it, and put a stamp on it, and try to measure it with a device, and try to create a ruler, and try to create a spectrum of it. Impossible. This is why we say when we really look at spirit, it is free of impurity. It is perfection. Therefore, there's no such thing as spiritual impurity. Can't be done. Anything that is impure is of the mind, not of spirit, not of the divine infinite intelligence, the consciousness, the awareness that spirit is. That's impossible because it has no form, it has no objectivity, it has no body to bring about polarity. But when you look at mind, everything is polarized because it is a concept. because it is a form. Every form has a magnetic field. That magnetic field, just like a low-pressure weather system, is what's keeping you anchored in this universe for the form that you occupy to even exist. So, therefore, having a form will have the idea of a spectrum, because it's the finite. The mind's able to understand this. It has systems. It has functioning. It has a database. It has a spectrum. And so the mind can play with this. So anything you find in the mind has its own level of impurity. Where it's moving much more into the state of purity, it's actually transcending the finite boundaries, so that you know within yourself that you are the infinite. There is no such thing as spiritual impurity. It is nothing but a facade. It is nothing but a label that has been misunderstood because one does not know spirit. So you do not have any spiritual impurities. You have mind impurities. You have finite impurities. You have bodily impurities. Everything that you can identify with form and objectness, because you continue to move much more into the materialization of form, that represents a great impurity. You see? It's going so much deeper into feeling that the mind is all that there is, and that is the impurity itself, but it's existing within the mind. It doesn't come from spirit. So when you're using the word spirit, you need to be aware of how you use it. Because you're trying to bring about what is spirit and putting it into a mind concept, and you will not know spirit that way. This is why we don't really wish to use the word spiritual. Sometimes it's used in a state of convenience, but it's not an accurate definition at all. To utilize the nature of saying, oh, I'm a spiritual being, what does that mean? You're trying to put spirit into the mind and basically going through duality. And that is not spirit. That is the clay pot thinking it knows the clay when it doesn't. The clay pot can never know the clay. Only the clay knows the clay. Spirit only knows spirit. It is not a body that spirit occupies to where the body thinks it knows spirit. It doesn't. You cannot use the mind to know God. You have to be God to know God. You see? That's the idea. So we want you to reflect on this. We thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Jenny, for your question. All right. Okay, Sassy says, what is the purpose of the back heart chakra? Mine seems very painful. How can I fix this block? Well, the back heart really represents the idea, like if we have the heart right here, okay? You have a funnel that goes out. You have a funnel back here that goes out. Now, either of these particular forms of funnels can be compromised by material pain, okay? By physicalized pain, by heartbreak, by heartache, by hurting and injury of the heart, okay? But again, we have to understand that when an organ is compromised, it is not the organ itself that needs to be cared for. It's the entire body, okay? The creators of this body were not so careless into thinking, okay, well, here's a shelf that represents the heart. Here's a shelf that represents the lungs. Here's a drawer that represents your intestines. It's not so carelessly and incompetently put together like that. You have to understand that the body is a collective organism. Okay? Now, in order for the body to be thoroughly cleaned, this is where we move into the state of surrendering problems. Okay? The reason why there is hurt here that lingers, I'm not talking about just falling down and scraping your knee or scraping your elbow or anything of that nature. Take care of the wound, put a bandage on it, and it'll be fine after a little while. I'm talking about the pain that continues to resurface. Okay? The pain that continues to resurface, often what we refer to as chronic ailments, is caused by a great impurity of the mind coming into the body that we are holding on to, which means we're living in the past. Our heart is hurt, right? If we're looking at the back of the heart, like I said, that is the back funnel that is, again, inflamed. It's an inflammation that's taking place, okay? So it can represent the idea that there has been heartbreak, that there has been heartache, that there has been, in that sense, impurities, anxiety, fear that come in. So when you're looking at those two funnels, that is the geometry of the hyperboloid, okay? That is what we would refer to as the hourglass form. And when any of that is particularly inflamed through the heart, then this represents that there is a jeopardy relating to my own ability to feel, relating to my own emotional states, relating to my relationships that I have given my own foundation circle has been jeopardized. And I need to look at to where I feel like I have been victimized, where I have been wounded, where I have been abused, where I have been rejected, where I feel like nobody understands me. Okay? Those are the things that need to be brought into the light. So, what I would like you to do, to Cindy here, is I'd like you to go onto my YouTube channel, and I'd like you to look into my videos, and one of the newest videos that I have is called the Abidance Method. Okay? And I would like you to do that. I'd like you to work with the Abidance Method and doing that regularly. First and foremost, I want you to have a notebook, and I want you to write things down based on what I've suggested here. When have I been hurt? When have I been injured? When have I been taken advantage of? Where do I feel like my heart has been hurt throughout my life? And I look at these events. I hold that event like a challenge in my mind, and then I start doing the Abidance Method. And I surrender. And I surrender more. And I let go more. And I release more. And I discharge more all of that challenge from my being until nothing of that pain exists within myself anymore. It has completely been absorbed back into the self, back into the infinite, right? As you continue to do this, day by day, you continue to work with clearing away all these things, your heart's not going to hurt anymore, okay? Your body's not going to hurt anymore. Your body's immune system is now going to start improving and increasing, okay? So exactly why I've created etherics as well, too. Etherics can help you with this. But what etherics cannot do, what spirit cannot do, is try to take away something that you're still holding on to, okay? Anything that represents pain needs to be loosened. Just like what Adronis was talking about with the earth, with that geometry, where something's been loosened so that there can be a greater sliding out of that skin, okay? That's what you guys have to do, is the idea that whenever you notice that something is being loosened within yourself, a harmonic is shining in you, that gives you the opportunity to loosen something that you've held onto, but you're too distracted by the outside world to realize, I got to give myself some me time. I got to give myself some healing time so I can go within and I can start to loosen all of these things. I can lighten them up. I'm loosening the noose, right? And I can now take it off my head. I'm not hanging myself anymore. And I'm letting it all go. I'm surrendering it completely. And I'm abiding in that now moment feeling once I feel everything has surrendered. And I abide there. That is exactly where I need to be. That is my antidote to everything that represents hurt. Is when I feel myself freeing myself from all of those problems, and I stay here in the now moment, and I feel that, whether it's for a minute, whether it's for 2 minutes, etc. That is what I want to savor, because that's how it should feel like when I surrender everything. Okay? So that's exactly why I call it the Abidance Method. The most important part of the Abidance Method is after you're surrendering everything, after you're letting everything go, you're abiding in that moment. And that really isn't even a method. That's just you abiding in the bliss of yourself. And you stay there. As you stay there, you're letting everything now become surrendered, because now you know what it feels like. You know that feeling. And that's what you want to continue to work with every single day. Okay? Thank you very much for your question. Okay, guys, we're going to take one more question and we're going to wrap up. So let's see here. Okay, this one here. Let's see here. There's a couple of questions here. I'm just finding what's a good way to end, which one is a good one to end on. Okay, I think we'll end with Carol Ann Smith's question here. Carol Ann Smith says, I have a question for Adronis. What method do we use when someone that is around us brings our anxiety level up, and how do we handle this? Thank you. Okay. This is a good general question, I think is good to end on. All right, here we go. We thank you very much, Carol Ann, for your question. So, when you talk about someone that is causing you anxiety, is it their fault? Nope. Why would you need to be concerned then about what somebody else is doing to you when you are the one reacting? Your reactions are what make these things happen, which means you need to loosen yourself. You need to soften yourself. Do you think that many of the great masters that were on your world would basically go up to somebody and say, hey, could you skedaddle, you bother me? No, not once. Or someone approaches that master and says something very unflattering to them and spits in their face. Do you see the master getting up from his rock, rolling up his sleeves, and pummeling that person, knocking them down the mountain? No. Do you see why you suffer? Because of the programming that you have put upon yourself that conditions that only a certain amount of things that you experience through perspective is acceptable to you without getting set off. And do you see how that weakens you? What you need to do, Carol Ann, is to soften and loosen your reactions to people. It is not anyone's fault based on how you react to that person, regardless of what they do. It is your reactions that can make you suffer. It is your reactions that is causing that noose to be tied around your neck and getting tighter and tighter while you get choked with your own triggers. You see, this all comes down to finger pointing. This person was so mean and so rude to me, and I was just so offended, and etc., 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 etc. And what is happening to you when you're making that statement? You are filled with anger. You are filled with bitterness. You are filled with resentment. You are filled with victim consciousness. So, is it really about that person? No. It's because you have aligned something to you that is showing you your current intact nature of how you are able to be. And that's the problem. You see, you put that trigger on somebody. That person comes along and they commit to the trigger gets flipped, and all of a sudden you start to lose it. And it is through you losing it that is causing this trigger to, again, cause great suffering within you. So, what do we do? What have we been telling you to do over and 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 over again? Come to your center and surrender. Bow down to yourself. Bow to the soul and surrender, because the soul is your infinite power. But you're seeing the soul here, and you're seeing yourself here. And you feel that there's a gap, that there's a divide between the soul and yourself. And that's why you suffer. What happens when you do this? You are imperturbable to anyone and to anything that you come in contact with, because you've made peace with it all. This is not ever about somebody else. You paint a picture on them. You see them with a certain type of colored glasses. And you see your world through these colored glasses that you wear, that when somebody else is trying to tell you that there's another color you're not seeing, you get offended. Because you're wearing your colorful glasses that only pick up a couple of color ray frequencies. And when somebody else is trying to tell you there's another color, you won't accept it, you get offended. How could they say there's another color? Well, have you taken off your glasses? How dare you say that to me? Well, that's what you're doing. You're only choosing to see life through a keyhole and nothing else. You haven't even opened the door. You're taking your little eye and you're putting it through that little keyhole and say, oh, look what I can see. Well, there's a lot more to, hey, how dare you say that to me? That's what you're doing. It's why you get offended by everything. Because you keep looking at life through a keyhole. You keep looking at life with rose-colored glasses. And you don't see the spectrum. And you don't see the nature of how everything is. And when you learn to surrender, guess what happens? Those glasses come off and the door gets opened. You're no longer looking through a keyhole. You see? That's what it comes down to, Carol Ann. That's what it comes down to, everyone who is going through similar things as what Carol Ann is going through. You've got to give up this idea of being offended. You've got to give up this idea of feeling that you need to blame somebody else because you got triggered by whatever it is they said or did. The fault lies within you, not them. You're not responsible for them. You're not responsible for fixing their life. You're not responsible for them getting realization. That's their job. Just as your realization is your job. And your ability to notice this and to heal it is your job. So therefore, this is the idea. Is to loosen the noose and take it off your head. Is to open the door rather than looking through a keyhole. Is to take off the rose-colored glasses and see in full color. And when you do that, it's because you've surrendered. It's because you've been able to forgive. It's because you've been able to release. It's because you've been able to liberate yourself from the very problems you put upon yourself in the first place. You see, you have other people around your life, and they basically tell something to you. And based on the orientation that you are, you will either understand that that is how they are, and you will not take it, and you will walk away because you're at peace with yourself and you know yourself. Or you will feel that you will absorb that, and that becomes identity because you see this person greater than you. That's the only reason why you're all suffering. You've seen people in your life that you think is greater and more superior than you. And that's why you take in their insecurities and make it your own. You've adopted it. You have allowed emotional adoption to come into yourself. That's why you fight with yourself. You struggle with yourself. You don't realize that you have all of these tendencies of struggle because you've adopted other belief systems that are not your own from people who you thought were greater than you. That's the only reason why you have these belief systems in the first place. They're somebody else's. They're not yours. But you've made them yours because you've adopted them. My mom's bigger than me. My dad's bigger than me. My brother's bigger than me. My teacher's bigger than me. My preacher at the church is bigger than me. My boss is bigger than me. My coworker's bigger than me. My best friend's bigger than me. And everything they say to me, I better do it or else there's consequences. Well, there's the adoption in place. That's the only reason why you suffer. Because you have chosen to see people in your life to become bigger and superior to yourself. And then it can also come in the opposite direction. You can see people who you feel, oh, they're not very smart, they're very little, etc., etc., and you're putting that upon them. So you either see someone bigger or you see someone lower, and there's that exchange. That exchange of insecurity, that exchange of vulnerability, that exchange of corruption that is not natural to yourself. And you're spewing it, and you're spewing it, and you're absorbing it, and you're absorbing it. Because this all comes through the nature of your environment. But you are the sponge, soaking it all up, and you are also the sponge wringing it all out. That's why you suffer. You are a victim to your environment. Because you have not developed yourself through the strength of mental aptitude and emotional aptitude to govern everything that needs to be governed, and realize this is something that helps me, and this is something that needs to be gone. This is something I need to surrender to. I absorb it, I clear it away, it's gone. This is what all of you, every single human being on this planet, should be doing every single day. Every one of you. No one's excluded from this statement. All of you should be doing that, but you don't. And that's why you're hurting. And that's why you're suffering. And that's why you're triggered. That's why your body is sick. That's why your mind feels sick. That's why your emotions feel sick. Because you have been victims of your environment, and you have not enabled yourself to discipline the mind to the degree to know what is truth and complementary to you and what is not, so that you can therefore liberate it. And until you do that, you will continue to go on the hamster wheel, getting triggered by every little thing. This person did this to me, that person did to me. This person on the TV is saying these horrible things, and I'm so offended by it. And this person here stepped on my foot, and I'm so offended by it, but I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to rock the boat, etc., etc. You humans are so confusing. And again, you do not realize that you're confusing. You don't realize how confused that you are because you don't hear yourselves. You don't listen to yourselves. You don't listen to that little voice and saying you need to let go of this, because you're only confusing yourself to walk around in loops. You don't give yourself the opportunity to liberate yourself because you think it needs to come from somebody else. And that's why you're lost. And that's why you're hurt. And that's why you're confused, and that's why you're pointing fingers, and that's why there's blame games, and that's why you feel you're the victim and someone else is the bully. And it goes on and on and on, because you have not sanctified the discipline needed through within yourself to discern what works for you and what doesn't. And what doesn't, you surrender to it, you let it go. And therefore, anything that comes up, you have disciplined and discerned yourself enough to know exactly what is truth from that which is not. That's what you need to do. And surrendering does that. Learning to release does that. But as long as you continue to walk around in circles, you are not going to be free. You're going to find somebody else who's going to come into your life and bully you. You are going to find some type of event that you're going to be so afraid of and make your body more sick. Because you have been unable to discern life. And all you have to do to discern life is learn how to surrender. Look at the filth and the grime that is upon me, and learn how to wring it out like a sponge by surrendering, coming into your center. Keep the sponge of yourself clean. Rather than thinking, I need the world to change, Adronis, the world has to change for me to get better. And that is victim consciousness. That is a blame game. The world is your bully. The world is your aggressor. The events is your aggressor. What this politician is doing, they're the aggressor. It's their fault. It's all their fault. They're the ones responsible. Their fault. You're lost. And you're a dog chasing your tail again, and you got the rose-colored glasses on, and you're looking through the keyhole of life again. And it will continue to repeat again and again and again until you learn to surrender. until you learn to discern, until you learn how to work with yourself with ease to know what is in complement with yourself and what is not, to what is the truth and what is not. Until you do that, the merry-go-round will keep spinning. So be aware of what we're sharing here. We really don't care if you take this knowledge and use it or if you decide to put it on the shelf because it's your life. But we can tell you that what we share with you, when it's put into practice, you will see exactly what it brings out in you. But you have to be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to sit down with yourself and do the effortless work to surrender. Because it's effortless. It really is. It's simpler than breathing. But as long as you hoard your pain, expect yourself to suffer and do not question why you suffer. You're only absorbing pain again and again and again. And why do you think you ask the question, why am I suffering, Adronis? Because you keep absorbing pain. Because you identify with your wounds. Because you fit a mold of wearing rose-colored glasses and looking through a keyhole and spinning around like a dog chasing its tail. What do you expect is going to happen? What do you expect is going to happen? I'm going to suffer. That's right. So how do we get out of suffering? We come here, we surrender, we let go. I make some time for myself, and I go within and I look at something that I know is my harmony, is my peace, and I know what is not, and that is what I work to liberate. You got it. Perfect. That's it. That's all you need to do. And your suffering ends permanently. Not like a pill where it's good for a few hours. Not like a treatment that might be good for a few days. We are talking about permanent release of suffering together when you know how to surrender. And we are emphasizing this with great character for it to really sink into you, to absorb it into you. Because this is how we wish to assist. Now, if you decide not to absorb that and put it on the shelf, that's your choice. But if you decide to absorb this and take in with what we know, with what we're sharing with you, you are going to see for yourself, not for our own sake, but for yourself, the complete and total liberation of your being where love is now life. Please keep that in mind. We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction. I am Adronis of Sirius, and we will speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Goodbye. Okay, great. Thank you very much, everybody, for your questions. Really appreciate it. So again, feel free to tune in on Sunday. Okay, on Sunday, I will be doing another Adronis event taking place. Let's see if I can find it here. Here we go. Okay, so transmissions from Adronis this Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Open Q&A with Adronis on Zoom. Registration link is in the video description. Okay, so go down to the video description, click on that link, and be a part of the interaction. Like I said, you can even ask personal questions to Adronis if you want. I think a lot of you will be on video because I'm using Zoom meetings, not Zoom webinars. So a lot of you will be on video as well too if you want, and you can ask questions to Adronis. I will have a moderator for the event as well too that will moderate the questions. So again, personal or general questions are completely fine. All right, guys, so have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you all on Sunday. And again, I'll be revealing the new announcement next week about the Yoga Nidra hypnosis sessions. Go check out etherics.co. Go check out our new in-house shipping products where you get them quite quickly, no more production time wait for those in-house shipping products. And again, thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys on Sunday. Take care. Om Shanti, 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 Namaskar, and may it be well with you. Goodbye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in to New Earth Teachings on YouTube. Don't forget to check out our websites, newearthteachings.com, where you can do private sessions with me, and also etherics.co. And through Etherics, you'll be able to pick up your Healing Code Cards body deck, your mind deck, and your energy deck through Etherics. You will also be able to pick up the Etherbed kit. That is also on Etherics as well. Not to mention that you'll also be able to pick up some apparel and accessories that is also available on Etherics. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one. Om Shanti 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 Namaskar, and may it be well with you.